Hi, so welcome to my second journal entry of my journey to becoming me, you know, and a very transparent offering to those of you who end up seeing this. I Right now it's lunchtime. I took some I just drove away from work during my lunch hour so that I could film this. Yesterday, I would have liked to do one, but with food drop, I just didn't get the time. It didn't feel right. So, right now, I'm not hungry. So I said I would take some time and come do my second journal entry. And today, I want to talk about, my dream life, basically. And from a lot of people, they have videos with where they were, and yes, they are probably still building their dream life, but they have still gotten to a certain level or a certain point where they feel that this is they've built enough on what they wanted that they are comfortable sharing. I just choose to be a bit more transparent and authentic on my journey. And like I said before, sometimes I tend to go off on tangents. So to help me out, I did some notes, a lot of notes. I hope I could get through this in time to go back to work. Okay, so firstly, basically, this whole thing, we're gonna touch on like my dream life, like what I imagined, the concerns, and like things that I've tried on my journey so far, things that I have like explored, and that's different to like things that I've tried in a sense, and I'll get into that later on. Also, my interests that I want to explore, I guess, slash try because I will be trying it, and also I plan to explore it. We'll get into that, why it has a slight difference. And limiting beliefs. And lastly, moving forward, how I plan to go about this whole journey. Now, a lot of people has a very structured approach. This is what I'm gonna do 3 months, and then by this time, and sometimes I tend to do that. Like I give myself time frames to accomplish certain things, and sometimes it works, but I'm realizing that life happens. Like, yeah, we know life happens, but I want to give myself that flexibility to be open to things not happening the way that I imagine that they should. Case in point, me here now doing this video, which we'll get into the first one, my dream life, right? What I imagined. I imagine that I would be rich already because sometimes it's easy to look at videos, a lot of videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and see these people with a big house and their fancy cars and all of that. Yes, I understand that a lot of things could just be for show and none of it might be real. But at the same time, I thought, when I was 9 years old, I thought I would be there at 23. I'm 30 this year. No, about to be 31. I'm bad with dates. I know what I didn't want though. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do to become rich. I didn't know how it would happen, but I knew what I didn't want. I knew that I didn't want to be stuck in a place, and this is important. I don't want to be stuck in a place in life where I would just feel dead inside and like feel like time is moving slow and I'm just depressed and kind of working to live, you know? So I knew what I didn't want, and that was my concern. And still, my concern kind of, being stuck and like miserable at an old age, just doing things that I didn't want to do. Which will lead me into the other topic of trying things. Now, I love science. When I was a child, my dad always reminds me how I said, I have to figure out something. I don't know if I figured it out yet. Sometimes I feel like I do. But I love science. I also love like artsy things and music and trade and whatnot. I was one of those students in school who did sciences like chemistry, physics, biology, all of that. I love like I love science. Like I geek out on quantum theory and like the idea of parallel universes and things exist in multiple dimensions at once and all of that. Just all those geeky stuff. I love it, and that's for another topic. Anyway, so I did sciences because in my country, at a certain level in high school, we have to choose a group of subjects, kind of like we specialize in. So some students might choose like home economics, others get to choose like the music classes and like sociology and all of those, whatever that group was, and like we have to choose. And I wanted to do like they already like when we go to choose they already have the subjects in a group. So even if I wanted to switch out some of my subjects, I couldn't because they already had it in that group. And some of the subjects that I wanted to do, they said I couldn't do it because it doesn't go in that category. You know? So for instance, I was in a science class. I wanted to do music. They told me I couldn't. And art. They told me I couldn't because those are not within the subject groupings. I don't really like the music teacher. I didn't really like his way of teaching. I spent 3 years in his class and didn't really learn anything, so that didn't hurt too much because I already have like practical experience in playing instruments, so I can play guitar, bass guitar, drums like the African drums, as well as a bit of trap set, and I understand how to play the keyboard. But if I get to practice it more, I definitely will, which is something I'll do later on. Anyway, so I couldn't do music, but it didn't hurt too much because I used to play music in church, so alright, that itch was being scratched to do musical stuff, and I used to play drums and whatnot. So I did art, and I did that as an extra subject outside of the curriculum that the school gave us. Oh, one thing I forgot is when teachers found out that I was doing art as an extra subject, they all were so shocked, like, oh my gosh, a science student doing art? Wow, that's so strange. And I didn't understand it because I always thought that people should have the freedom to do what resonates with them. So, side note, as I am editing, waiting for a food drop, back to the video. So after school, I would go to art class and learn how to do artsy stuff. Like, um, trying to remember the name. Visual. I think it was visual arts. I could be wrong, but I believe it was visual. just visual arts. So, I learned to draw and whatnot, and paint and whatnot, and I still have an eye for artsy things. I still love it. Right? So I was one of those students who did that. And then after school, I wanted to take a break and work and do other things, but my dad was adamant that I did sixth form, which is like 2 extra years, but for other countries, maybe they complete school at 18. For us here, we complete school at 16. So I went into sixth form, and in sixth form, I learned I don't like this school system because I was going to apply for a scholarship, and they wanted a lot of extracurricular activities and whatnot, and I just thought it was too much. And it's not because I was lazy, something about it just felt off, in that I would spend all this time doing all these things to get an unpaid internship at a place that I'm not sure that I would like, and work for somebody. And something clicked one day that there must be more to life. I know, and I believe at that point in time, I heard about some of the richest people who didn't finish school and all of that. Well, now I know it was like university, but same concept remains. A lot of times, business owners and they don't have business degrees, right? Same tea. Anyways, in sixth form, I realized that I don't really want to go to school, but it doesn't change the fact that I like learning, So I still like learning things, and a lot of that came with my physics class. Like I just said, I love quantum physics and whatnot. What I don't like is the fact that the way the teachers taught, all the teachers that I saw, eh, like all my teachers, my extra lessons, I did extra lessons teacher and my school teacher, they seem to not care about the students understanding the concept of the equations, because physics, mx plus c over epsilon whatever, like I can't remember now, but the point is I didn't understand the concepts, and that was a problem for me. So I would get some of the answers correct, like the problems that we had to solve, but I didn't really understand how I got there because I just memorized a formula. And in physics and mathematics, there are a lot of formulas. I did pure math as well, and there are a lot of formulas, and I just thought this makes no sense. I like understanding things, and I don't know if that's my neurodivergence or what, but I just felt like this just don't make no sense, right? Sorry. I decided at that point, F school, right? But I still like to learn. After school, which thank God that I did go to sixth form as my father wanted me to do, because I figured out that I didn't want to go to school again. Like now, the only thing I might go to school for is to get a music degree, and that I don't I don't see myself doing that anytime soon, but I'm open to it. So after that, I left school. I got a job at the airport. At that time, it was a big thing to get a job as a flight attendant. You could travel all over the world. Cha, cha, cha. And at that point in time, I was still masking. I still didn't care to people much, but I did it. And I had the energy to mask and do that. I don't have the energy anymore to do a lot of things that doesn't light me up, and I'm not interested in pretending to do so. At the point in time, I had the energy for that, and I worked. My first job was as a customer service representative at the airport. So those people who check your baggages in at the counter and all of that. And my favorite part was actually not checking the people in. I used to like no one liked to walk. There was a certain task, like they would assign us certain duties, like before the flight came and whatnot. And there was a certain task where we would get some, it, it was like a manifest. We will get that. The airline would send that over, we would print it and whatnot. And the agent who was on that task, I think it was departures. I used to love to do departures because that was the most amount of walking and nobody didn't like to do that. But I liked to do it because it meant dealing with less people. So maybe I might be at the counter for the first hour, checking in people and whatnot. But I used to leave at a certain point in time and go to immigration, go to customs and drop this document and get it stamped and whatnot. And I had to do all of that before the flight left. So that was departures. And that was a whole thing. But I love that task. And after a while they realized, oh, she like that. Nobody else like that. Stick her with that. I didn't mind because it meant I got to deal with less people, and at the point in time I didn't know what that was, that I just wasn't that much of a people person. Like I knew, but I didn't really know, no, because I was still masking heavily. I was always polite, and I would always be polite as a customer service representative towards people. But it was draining. It was very draining. So I tried that. After that, I did electrical installation. So from there, I left that job. That's another story. But it was to do with the hours that I was working. It just wasn't making sense on the managers, and I just thought I didn't need to deal with it. So I just left. I was home. I really wanted to do auto mechanics, but and I was telling my friend about it. He called me one day like, hey, there's courses we could do. And at that point in time, we used to get stipends. That's something called White Up. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's like a trade school where they actually used to give us stipends to go and learn. So I was home for about 3 months or so, and in the evening I used to leave and go to class. Like, it wasn't much money, but it was still something. I didn't have to ask my parents for money to get to class or what that. It was cool. It was a nice learning experience. So I learned electrical installation, and then during my, maybe, I think it was 6 months. But anyway, within the last 3 or 2 months of my level 1 electrical installation class, I went into level 2, which was our next stipend program. To do my level 2 in electrical installation. And I liked it because I like doing things with my hands and whatnot. I wanted to do woodwork and welding and auto mechanics. And after doing like my first job, or trying to do that as a business, I decided that wasn't for me. After that, I said, well, office job it is. I have the qualifications to do it. I just wanted to do my own thing, so office job it is. So here I am now. More time than I thought I would be here, but it's fine. The safety is nice, but I am honestly willing to take the risk on certain things. Still am, because I don't want to be living my whole life with the same concerns of, because sometimes I look at people in there for 20 years, 25 years, and they look miserable, and I can't. Anyway, this leads me into the next part with me exploring things. So the next So I explored a lot of things even since I was in primary school. Even since I was in primary school, elementary school, whatever. Which was the first business I started was me picking pomsite, as some people call it star apple, I think, in other countries, whatever they call it in their country. So it was a fruit from a tree that was in my yard, and I made chow with it. Chow is something like a pickled, or like when you put a fruit in in a salty brine with seasoning. So I tried to make pomsite chow, but maybe I didn't understand certain things at that point in time. That didn't work out. Plus, I had no guidance and whatnot with anything entrepreneurial. So that's that. I tried to do the electrical, like I said, and then after I realized, this is hard work. I don't mind doing hard work, but the physical labor, I realized, you know what? I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want my income to be based on having to do these kinds of jobs in order to live. You know? I'm still interested in electrical installation and I know what to do, but I'd rather have a company and have people work for me. You know? That's where my mind is at, not like business, not self-employed. And I didn't know that is what it was at the point in time when I got into this job that I'm in at that point in time. So this is like maybe 2 years into working there. Well, I got my diploma in electrical as well, my level 2 diploma in electrical installation from City and Guilds, as well as my level 1 and level 2 CVQs from the trade schools that I did before, and I also have my level 2 diploma. I mean, level 2 diploma. Hey! I also have my level 2 diploma. After I did that, because I wanted to do that and then get my wireman's license, which is my electrician's license. We call it wireman's license over here. Sexist much. Anyway, and then maybe a couple years working where I'm working, I discovered trading. I didn't discover it. A friend called me and invited me to a IML meeting, and I've been down that rabbit hole. And within that rabbit hole, I discovered like drop shipping and print on demand and digital marketing and all the make money online things. But the thing about it is, in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of services are not available to us. So, because they are not available, it made it really hard for me to really explore these things and try to make it work. Because the things that people would set up with their, like, for instance, a Shopify store, I would watch somebody set up a Shopify store and do the same thing, and simply because of the country that I'm in, when it reads my IP address, I wouldn't see the link for PayPal, and I can't get PayPal as a business, like for people to send money to me because of the region I'm in. When I signed up to PayPal, I had to go and register a business and give them extra paperwork. When I'm seeing this person online set it up from scratch and have their PayPal, and then it just was wild. So the things that people could have done, I had to do 3 times as much things in order to achieve the same result, and it was very discouraging. But I still learned trading and still stuck with it, even while exploring those other things, email marketing, affiliate marketing, all of that. I can build funnels. I could, like, throughout this journey, I've gained a lot of skills, okay? Like funnel building, I can do CRMs, I could do workflows on HubSpot and all of that. And one thing I experimented with, like explored, was web design. I have a web design company actually, but it's not currently functioning. I can do, I have done work for a couple people, and so my problem is having to do content about things that I am not passionate about. So the fact that I have spoken here so candidly for however long you're watching this video right now, it says a lot to me and I don't feel drained doing it. So my problem is that anytime I go into doing certain things, I would explore it and then realize, maybe this is not for me. And this brings me back to my concern of being stuck doing something that I don't want to do. Like my main thing is I don't want to be stuck doing something that I don't want to do, right? Even worse, sticking myself there because I would have chosen to do that and now I have to do it in order my livelihood depends on how hard I do it, you know? And I'm grateful for the stability of the job that I have right now. Yes, I am grateful and I try to do it to the best of my ability within reason because if you don't take care of yourself, they will eat you. It's still not something that I imagine myself doing for the rest of my life, but I don't mind doing it as long as I need to until I find the thing that I want to do for the rest of my existence. That was the web design. I can still do it. I like it, but I don't want my income to depend on it. And I don't like having to actively find customers and deal with people. Like I said, I don't know if I said it explicitly, but I'm an introvert. And sometimes dealing with people is mentally and energetically exhausting. What I realized even from exploring and just being open to other things, and I'll touch on this because maybe in the future it will come up. It kind of came up in the previous video which I mentioned, human design. So I discovered something called human design. Everyone has it. I am a manifesting generator based on my chart, and I realized that sometimes I realized I wasn't tripping. Right? I wasn't crazy thinking that okay, I need to try this, and I wasn't crazy for stopping and it gave me an explanation for why I was feeling frustrated at trying to be consistent doing something that I just didn't want to do anymore. At that point in time, doing web design, I also explored print on demand and digital marketing. I actually have an ebook. Maybe I'll share it with you in the future when I refine it a bit more. But actually, it's done. But I might have wanted to remove certain information, but maybe I'll share it as is. Basically, the information I was going to remove is my website that I had for my web design company because it was supposed to help the business owners with marketing as they did their website. Because a lot of times I found the problem business owners had, or my clients they would have, is that they have a website. What next? How do they get people to come to their website and to visit and drive traffic? So I had, some information on that. It's basically a 3-step plan on how to do the marketing, on how to do marketing, market your business. I just didn't want to do the things in the 3 steps, if I'm being honest. So, but I understand. Like, I'm really good at breaking down concepts and taking it apart and making it digestible. So, and creating systems. Like, really good at creating systems. Like, I discovered that about myself. Anyway, I did that. And then I took a break from that. My business is still there, but I just don't do anything with it right now. Within that, I wanted to help people from my region overcome the challenges that I had, which is being able to collect credit card payments on their website and connect their websites to social media and whatnot. Like, I wanted to help people, and I found this platform, and that's what my ebook had in it as well. So I will leave it. I will leave it, and if it is you interested in it, and this platform works anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere in the world, easy, just amazing. If you were interested, I would be happy to share it because I just wanted to help people. That's the reason for doing the ebook. And then I realized, hey, I'm doing this to help people, and I was offering this for free, and this is really good information. And then I discovered digital marketing and people selling digital products online. Like, at one point I thought of converting it to a digital product, but then it wasn't something I was passionate about, the web design. I'm good at it. I don't know if I would include some clips somewhere in here to show you, like, but to show you guys some samples of my work, but this is not about that, so maybe I wouldn't. Anyway, print on demand. I liked print. I said that before, but I liked print on demand because of the fact that it allowed me to explore my artistic side. But here was my problem: niching. Everyone says, oh, you need to pick a niche. You need to pick a niche. And I can't really, I don't know what my niche is. And this is why I'm doing this video as such. I don't know what my niche is, at least not yet. I just know that I can't be the only one, and I am on a journey, and I would like to share it. So here I am. I like the idea of print on demand, but I couldn't find something that resonated that I want to share. Like, my problem is that nothing resonated with me that I would like to share, that I felt, yes, I would like to share this. Recently, I found some inspiration. And I would like to share them with you in the future when I flesh it out a bit more. Forgive me for rambling. The next thing that I explored was music production, which was the last thing that I explored thus far. And it's something that I'm still interested in and still very passionate about. The only reason why I'm not currently doing it is because at the point in time when I began to explore music production, the idea of making money with it was still to the forefront of my mind, because I had just came from a space where I am trying to make money, hustle mode, culture, and just wanting to do this quickly. I felt frustrated again and I paused, but it's still something that I'm very much interested in. I think I'll play a clip to the end of this video of an instrumental, I don't know, a cover that I made with my developing music production skills. And the only reason why I stopped, no, not the only reason. The second reason why I'm not doing it at the moment is because the laptop that I have currently is not equipped to run the software. It sticks, it freezes, and it is very annoying. Being good at a lot of things that doesn't feel right, and as something that I want to do daily, marketing and electrical, it felt like a chore. I still like music production, but I feel like music should come from a place of happiness and a pure place, because people could feel that in your music, you know? So I didn't just want to make music to make money. That's my concern about that. This brings me to the next part, which is my interests. So I have a lot of interests, as you could tell, as I've expounded on, and I'm happy to do that because a lot of people who are in my daily life, they don't know about the things that I like, they don't know about the things that I can do and whatnot. Like, they don't know, and I tend to not really share myself, and this is part of me being comfortable with being seen. I found myself hiding my talents a lot because for some reason I thought that people thought that I would be showing off. Whatever. Anyway, one of my new interests that I want to explore in the future is DJing. So I will love to get into DJing. I want to do it just because. Okay, funny thing. Don't laugh. But for some reason, I thought that music production was what I wanted to do. I'm still very much interested in it because I still love music. But really, okay, I didn't say this. I tend to have music in my mind a lot. Like that tab, that meme with the tab in the background that you don't know where the music's coming from, except I was fully into the music. I'm just like, ask a lot of people, I burst out in spontaneous song. Spontaneously sometimes. I thought that it was music production. For some reason, based on some of the DJs that I've heard, especially where I am, they tend to chop up the music and it's not very cohesive and whatnot. So I didn't really think that DJing was what I wanted to do. I was interested in it, but I kind of put it out of my mind like, nah, that's not that's not what I want to do. I unconsciously boxed myself in. So at the point in time when I thought of it, I and in my mind I remember snapshots. There's this place called Price Mart, which is like the equivalent of Costco's maybe. There was a DJ deck. I was still in school at the time and I was like so intrigued with it. And in my mind, I was like, nah, but I'm a musician, meaning like I play guitar, drums. I don't do that. And another time when I was thinking about music production, DJing came to mind. Somewhere there was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to produce music. Like I unconsciously boxed myself in. So now I gave into it and I'm like, you know what? I want to DJ. I can't remember when that epiphany happened, but I was just like, yo, I going to DJ. I going to DJ. I going to DJ. This real lit. Just now. Let me see. Who? Who was it? Who was it? I can't remember who it was. I I was like, that is what I want to do. I want to do that. I'm going to explore this. So right now, I'm so excited to try DJing. I downloaded a couple apps on my phone, but for some reason the response times and the cueing of the music, it's not in sync. Like I can't sync it, like my fingers, I don't know. So I need the turntables and I need to practice and I just gonna have fun with it. And I love this because it's something that I honestly feel that I love because I love music and I always, like I was saying, I always have songs in my mind. And I always mix songs in my mind. And I didn't even know that that is what I was doing. I was DJing in my mind whole time and I thought I was doing music production. And I feel so late. Like the whole time I was DJing in my mind and I thought that I was producing music. Huh. Anyway, so one of my new interests, DJing. And maybe roller skating. That's more for like physical activities, and because if I'm DJing I'll be home most likely, and in the house and away from people, and I want to put myself in situations to still be social. Yes, I am an introvert, but I am working on making connections. Like, I don't want to be isolated and socially distant. I want to meet people and hopefully more like-minded people, because I'll do another video on this with my interactions with people and how they tend to misunderstand me. That will be another video, maybe the next video, because I could go on for days on being misunderstood by these neurotypicals. Anyway, limiting beliefs. There are different types of limiting beliefs. The first one is other people's limiting beliefs and they putting their limiting beliefs on me. One time I was so excited telling my brother about how I made this funnel, and when people sign up their email, they get an email, and then they can book the time that they could go to the webinar and all of that. They could book the time that they get to view the webinar, and then it will forward them to this page, and then like I did a whole email sequence and a whole funnel, like that landing page, just and it was looking good. And then I encountered a bit of a hiccup, so I was just talking out loud and I was like, this didn't work, but now I'm trying this. And he just looked at me and said, I don't know why you don't give up. You should give up. And that crushed me to the core. That hurt my feelings so much, because the lack of support was just crushing, you know? And I was just like, you know what? F you. When I'm successful, you're gonna want shit because you always want something. And I'm gonna be like, I'll show you. There was him, and then there was my parents who, well, my mom, she's supportive, but she doesn't really understand much about online and all of this. But now she's just beginning to understand, just allow me to be me and explore. My dad, he is not very supportive of things that is not what he wants me to do. Case in point, maybe last week or week before, out of the blue, he called me asking about if I wanted to be a doctor. I'm like, no. Like, no, no. Because he had the thought that he is feeling to be a doctor. So you're only willing to fund any kind of development and any kind of progress in my life if it benefits you, you know? That's that. So, and he also asked if it is I wanted to do music. Yes, I want to do music theory, but he wants me to do music theory and go back to school. And right now, where I am, I don't want to do that right now. Like, I'm open to it, but I don't want to do it right now. So I told him, I want to do music, I want to do music production. And if you want to help me, you can, buy me a laptop. Although I am working towards the laptop, he doesn't have to know that. But we trashed it out, and I told him about it. I was like, like, how come you can't just support me? Like, why not just support me if you want me to be better? So he didn't take me on with that. He didn't really think about it too much. And that goes there with the limiting beliefs. And he also, there are things that he talked me out of that I wish that I didn't listen to him on. This reminds me of a video that I watched on YouTube. The creator, I forget her name. She said it's better to, and I liked it. She said it's better to fail at things you believe in than to fail at things that you don't believe in. So basically, doing things that you don't believe in as a person. So if I were to do things that I don't believe in as a person, and I know exactly what she means because I felt it, like it's happened. Do things that I don't believe in as a person and fail at it, than to do things that I believe in and I believe I can do. Well, I just feel called to doing it. You know, that pull and do it and to fail at it, at least I know, it's not for me. You know, than to have the feeling of doing something that you didn't want to do and still failing at it is a worse feeling, basically. You know, I feel like that's the journey I'm on. It's not a typical one based on the people who are around me right now, and I would really love to meet more people who are on maybe not a similar journey but who could understand the things that I understand. Right now there's a application for immigration officer here in my country. Maybe a few years ago I might have jumped at the opportunity, but for some reason, just the thought just the thought of applying, I felt frustrated. And within that, I recognized it as my not self in my human design, which is frustration. I recognized it because I felt that feeling before. That feeling of the grind inside, like a grinding inside of forcing to do something that is not in alignment with what I should be doing. It's like the universe is just telling me this is not for you. And that manifests itself as an internal feeling of frustration. Like I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't function. My fuse was short. Just the thought of doing it. And when I finally decided, you know what? I'm not going to apply. Everyone that I know in the office, they applied. When I decided and energetically decided and made up my mind internally and said, I am not going to apply, that is not for me. When I honored that feeling, it went away. It like, I was like, wow, okay then, interesting. Let's see where this goes. And then after that, a few days later, the urge to make YouTube videos came up again. And here I am now. And this feels easy. Not easy, but because I had to make a decision to come here right now to do this video. And I'm going to try to wrap it up because lunchtime is going to be lunchtime over. Anyway, so that's others' limiting beliefs. And people tend to impose their limiting beliefs onto you. And it took me a while to realize that, and now I'm living in a place of not just because you think that you can means that not just because you think that you can't means that I can't either. And then self-limiting beliefs. Sometimes that is just something that we need to work within ourselves to realize why. I'm dealing with that on certain aspects and also looking for approval. So a lot of things that I didn't do, actually not really did do, well, some things that I did do, which was like maybe this job kinda, but a lot of things that I didn't do was like for me personally, I would find most of the things that I didn't do was because of looking for approval or support from others, even if I felt like it was the right thing. For instance, applying to go into fire service training maybe like 5, 6 years ago, or 8 years, a long time ago. I didn't go because my dad didn't approve, then he told me to stay where I am. And at the point in time, I kind of felt like that was the right move to make. And even now, sometimes I regret it because I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't, but I wasn't as in tune with myself now as I am. I wasn't as in tune with myself before as I am now. There are other things, maybe sometimes posting on social media. There are things that I didn't post because maybe I was afraid of what others would think. And a lot of that probably stemmed from my upbringing because my parents tend to be a lot like, what would people think? You know? And now I am learning to go against that internal hold, that internal voice that holds me back from doing things that I want to do. Which brings me to my second to last point, which is moving forward. So, moving forward, what I am doing is basically giving myself permission to explore and become whatever. Like, I've given myself permission to be an asshole. Like, even if it might seem silly to other people, I'm also giving myself permission to push back. So, when I say be an asshole, basically giving myself the permission to explore and become whatever I want to be, even if it might seem silly, even if whatever people don't understand. Just give myself the permission to push back, to challenge, to question, to think outside of the box, and to be different, because I am a weird cookie and I like it. But I've always been a bit tamed at letting that part of me out. A lot of it has to do with the fact that there is no one around me within my social circle that I really relate to, and I don't like having to fight with people all the time. And a lot of times people think that because I'm saying something different means that I'm arguing, and I'm not trying to have that discussion all the time. And they seem to be hell-bent on misunderstanding me. That's how I feel. So I just choose to preserve my energy. I will still be preserving my energy, but I still give myself permission to say the things that previously I wouldn't have given myself permission to say, And finally, what this will look like is basically taking it one step at a time. Like, focusing on my short-term goals, in the context of this video at least. Because there are things that I'm working on in parallel with these things that I've talked about, like the DJing. Like, there are things I'm working on. I tend to be working on a few things at the same time a lot of the time. So, but one step at a time. In the last video, I mentioned my eyebrows. That's a short-term goal I'm working towards. The laptop. So hopefully in the future you might see some videos with me practicing with my DJ turntable, which is another short-term goal. And this should have been the first in context of this video and this channel. The first is being consistent on YouTube, and getting accustomed to being a content creator, because I have never really just spoken so animated to a camera. And the fact that I found this, like me doing this, I'm kind of surprising myself right now, actually, So yeah, let's see how this goes. Here is my music instrumental cover that I did. Bear in mind, it is done with a free program, and my laptop gives me beams. So whether you're forgiving or not, I'm still gonna share it because I need to get accustomed doing these things. So until next time, stay safe and Here's my instrumental.